Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we have horrible news today from a P&O cruise ship where a crew member has passed away in an accident on board. We have another cruise ship being affected by the Melissa storm that's ripping through near the Dominican Republic right now. We have a cruise line about to kind of share their cruise terminal with a competing cruise line. You don't hear that too often. And we also have finally the opposite of what you normally hear, where cruise lines or ports are saying, we gotta get shore power, we gotta get shore power. One area is saying, yeah, no, we're not gonna do shore power. So first off, the tragic news of a crew member, as of yet undisclosed, because there is an ongoing investigation on the P&O area right now. It is actually on a 14-day transatlantic cruise at the moment coming from Barcelona. And so it's in the middle of this trip and a crew member has unfortunately had an accident on board. It just goes to show, if you've ever been down below in a cruise ship, especially in the mechanical areas, the engine rooms, the plumbing, etc. There are some steep drops and steps, and there's a lot of dangers on board. You just don't, it's an industrial area, and unfortunately, you never know what can happen. Not too much details, as I said right now. Just thoughts go out to the friends and family of the crew member as they're being notified, and of course all the crew members on board that work with this person. It's never a fun story in any workplace accident, but can you imagine now you hear the news and you cannot even go see the person or see the resting place for 14 days because they're in the middle of the ocean on a cruise. It must be pretty hard on the family. Next, well, Hurricane Melissa is kind of veered back upwards now. She's in the middle of doing a turn, and so more cruise ships are being affected. This time, the MSC World America, to go along with the Disney, the Royal Caribbean, the Carnival, all these Eastern Caribbean cruises that have been said, yeah, we have to now go in another location. And of course, that's exactly what the World America is doing to keep passengers safe and avoid this area altogether because, don't want to sail into rough seas. You don't want to be in that situation under a normal situation. There are some of us who really like rough weather on cruise ships. I'll admit it. I kind of like the rocking and everything, especially when I'm trying to sleep. It just puts me to sleep. I'm an unusual person, though. I will admit that totally when we talk about that. But speaking of MSC, MSC Cruise Lines built one of the largest cruise terminals in the world in Miami. It is huge. It has 4 berthing areas that can hold the biggest ships like World America, World Europa, and the soon-to-be World Asia as it gets ready to launch. It could hold these ships easily. Well, Royal Caribbean is in the middle of getting a new terminal themselves in Miami, and the other one is being demolished. So they've reached out to MSC, or the Cruise Authority, and they will now be sharing with the Freedom of the Seas. Will now be sharing the MSC terminal. So if you tell somebody, yeah, I'm heading to the Royal Caribbean dock for my cruise on the Freedom of the Seas, to your shuttle driver or taxi driver or Uber driver, you make sure you tell them you're now going to the MSC terminal. You should be able to see it because it's the big one right on the end before they hit the open water. So it's pretty easy to spot as it's so large. But just goes to show sometimes cruise lines can work together in certain situations. I think MSC built this, and you know what? We have the space. If we need extra room, we have it. And if we don't, maybe we can rent it out to some of the other cruise lines out there. Not a bad business plan for one of the busiest cruise ports in the absolute world. And finally, let's talk about an area that's doing the opposite of what most places are celebrating now with shore power and etc., especially in a very heavy, shall we say, climate-aware neighborhood. You know, up near the mountains, right on the ocean, on a jetway towards Alaskan waters, etc. Normally, conservation is high on the list, but before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. If you want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from the shore power to unfortunate things that can happen on a cruise ship and why you should be aware of your surroundings at all times, to, hey, maybe my cruise ship's not at the terminal it was supposed to be at, to the storms, etc. that are affecting your cruise, to price hikes, to everything covered here on the channel. Hope to keep you as best informed I can so your next cruise is just a little easier, maybe a little more enjoyable, and maybe save you some money in the meantime. I hope you'll join us. Doesn't cost a thing, but it really does help the channel out when you subscribe, leave a comment, even just a little like is a big help, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about Ogden's Point. That's in Victoria, British Columbia, by the way, if you were wondering. It's up in Canada. That's one of those stops that the ships sailing from the United States have to stop at in there, or in Vancouver, in order to get, you know, the law. They have to stop at a foreign port. They can't just go up United States, United States, United States. They have to come back. Well, this area is normally huge in the conservation, and so shore power, you would think, would be a high priority for Ogden's Point, where they say, look, we have done a feasibility study, and it looks like we're gonna, over the next few years, gonna have to spend about $100 million just to keep the facilities we have and repair and grow the area we wanna grow. $100 million. And shore power will cost us around $60 million more. And they say, well, it's just not reasonable for us to do it at this time. And that has a lot of environmentalists up in arms, because obviously, you know, that's one of the selling points of cruise ships cutting down on emissions, etc., is being able to plug in. The cruise ships are doing their part. They're retrofitting a lot of their cruise ships and putting in the shore power, so any facility that has it, they can plug in. And now we have an area that says, yeah, we're not going to do it. It's just not financially right at this moment for us. And you know what? With the rising costs of everything going on in the world right now, you can understand the argument. You can absolutely, you know, a lot of people are cutting back on their favorite type of food and buying no-name brand food because the main brand is just too expensive now. We'd like to be able to do it, but at this time, it's just not economically viable. You can kind of see the point, but in the same point, you say, well, you know, you're telling us that the environment's a huge thing whenever you're talking about, you know, regulations and taxes and everything like that here in Canada. And then when you have a chance to have an increase in something that will make a big difference, money is the object. It's funny how it works that way in a lot of government situations as well. Let me know what you guys think. Have you seen the brand new MSC terminal in Miami? It's beautiful, it's huge, it's gigantic, and now even if you're Royal Caribbean, you'll get to experience it as well. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. We'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.